Okay, angels, hello. Welcome to the podcast. I have Lana Lancaster, Lana like the banana. What did you say your friends call you?
Banana.
I have her here from the Auraria Recovery Community. I found her through school, MSU Denver, and I was looking for a community to be a part of. So would you please share your title, what you do for the school, and what ARC is?
Absolutely. First, I'm a CU Denver grad student at the School of Public Affairs.
Yes, she
I'm studying
is.
nonprofit management and grant writing, and my goal is to help recovery nonprofit organizations with the management and grant writing to support their organizations. That came about because I started coming down to the Auraria campus when I was an undergraduate student at University of Denver. They had a collegiate recovery cottage there, and they followed what is called an abstinence model. And I didn't really agree with the abstinence model because you had to have 48 hours of continuous sobriety. You had to sign a document to participate and agree to a number of things. And I think that recovery is so much more than that. Where we're missing the mark is we're not allowing people to explore their relationship with substances freely. And so someone told me about Auraria Recovery Community and said they followed a harm reduction model. And I came down here to campus as a DU student. They welcomed me with open arms, and I started participating ever since 2019. And it really has changed the trajectory of my recovery because of the participation with ARC.
What do you think is the most profound thing that you've found within the ARC community? Is it the community itself? Is it the approach that they take? What is it for you?
For me, it's a multitude of things. Auraria Recovery Community is now under the administrative oversight of the Health Center at Auraria. And the Health Center at Auraria believes in the harm reduction model as well. So we distribute naloxone, fentanyl testing strips, drink testing cards, with the belief that people can't make a decision about changing their lifestyle or how their relationship with substances may or may not be impacting their ability to do schoolwork, show up at work, or family events.
Been there.
With that harm reduction model and the belief that people need to be alive to make those kind of decisions, it just aligned better with what I believe. We're all individual people. I am a sober member of Alcoholics Anonymous, and AA saved my life. There's no doubt about it. But I have a love-hate relationship with AA.
Same.
There are some things that I just don't agree. For example, the whole outside issues. Everything is an outside issue.
Explain the outside issues.
Well, so I'm going to use an example. Once I was in an AA meeting at York Street, and someone was talking about them seeing a psychiatrist and utilizing meds through their doctor, their psychiatrist. And someone yelled, "Outside issue. Let's not talk about that." Well, it is an issue. It impacts how I see my recovery as an individual.
Yes.
I think there's a lot of cookie cutter kind of in the box thinking in some of those 12-step programs that don't allow exploration.
For sure.
And as a person who had been told for many years, you need to cut back. You need to do something about your drinking. You're off the rails. You're off the chain. That just made me drink and use more.
Right.
It was almost like a defiant, well, if you think
For
I'm bad
sure.
now, watch this. And so I believe that because I don't know what your experiences were in your family, in your religion of origin, in school, were you bullied as a child in school? I don't know what those experiences are, but all of those things add up to why we use substances. And for me, it's about childhood trauma.
Yep.
It's about stress. It's about how is the political status of the nation impacting you? Those are not outside issues. Those all impact how I deal with life and how I navigate in the world. And some people have better tools than I was given. The first time I drank, I was 13 years old. and it made me feel like a different person.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, the weight of the world was kind of lifted off of my shoulders,
Mm-hmm.
and I had that, I could kind of relax.
13.
Yeah.
That's young.
Yeah.
That's very young.
Yeah. My family was staunch Southern Baptist,
Mm-hmm.
or at least that's where I grew up, the region.
And then you wonder where that rebellious restriction causes. It's almost like it reminds me of eating disorders. The binge is fueled by the restriction and vice versa. You know, there's so many other things that you can compare to that type of switchback or the pendulum swing from being withheld and being confined to just like, I just picture this like monster coming out of me like, let me be, you
it's
know?
Like dieting.
Yes,
You know, that's
exactly.
why it's dieting.
Die.
Yeah, dieting.
I love that,
And
the spelling.
The restriction, the restrictive.
Yes.
And I always question authority.
Mm-hmm.
I always rebelled. I always ask why. That doesn't make sense. And I could never get any good answers. And I was frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
I was shy. And I think in the big book it says, you know, alcohol is a social lubricant.
Yep.
And that's what it did for me
It
at
is.
13. It
As
made
any
me,
other drug,
yes,
you know,
yes.
of course. And for me, it was marijuana. I mean, I used alcohol a lot too, but marijuana was my thing. And that I thought was a social lubricant, but then I realized I was anxious if I wasn't high, and I was anxious if I was high. And then, oh God, people are going to know I'm high. And it was before I moved to Colorado and before it was more accepted. But I think even now, if I smoked, I would still have that paranoia of like when you're living in that secrecy and the addiction cycle that is hiding your use patterns.
Absolutely.
And that's half the fun. I mean, it's the part that is really lonely, but I mean that's half of what that cycle thrives on.
Yes,
you know,
the
is the hiding,
excitement, the secret, the sneaking around. I always got a charge out of that too. And living a life that nobody really knew I was living. Like my family thought I was one thing, one person.
Oh yeah.
And I was a totally different person when I was away from home.
Yes.
They wouldn't have recognized me, honestly.
It's interesting too, the family dynamic when you're using substances around them or hiding it or whatever. You know, we think we're such effective hiders too. We think nobody knows. And I just had my mom on the podcast, and the part that she shared that brought me to tears was like, she said that my light was stolen from these substances, and you think you're just hiding, especially with alcohol or weed or some of the more socially acceptable ones. The people who really knew me could tell I was genuinely dead inside.
Yeah. Going back to Auraria Recovery Community and what attracted me to them, first of all, it's peer-led. So we're not professionals. We're just students. We're just people. People struggling with whatever it is we're struggling with. And people recover from all kinds of different things. Self-harm, eating disorders, gambling is a
Love
real
addiction,
big issue, sex and love addictions, and yes, substance and alcohol misuse. So what I love about ARC is anyone touched by recovery is welcome there. And really, that's all of us.
Yeah.
So all of us are welcome at Auraria Recovery Community.
It's not separated between, okay, you're struggling with addiction and you're the one supporting addiction and here's the bucket that you get to go in. It's like, no, we can benefit from all sitting literally at the same table. Which is what I love is we're sitting in a circle table in that space, and everybody deserves to share their story and for their voices to be heard no matter how you're impacted by it, because those ripples wave out far. Even if one person is struggling with it, of course they are probably struggling the most. But there are so many circles that infiltrates into: families, friends, coworkers, you know, and everybody needs not only the support, but the information too. And something that changed my trajectory of my recovery, I did an outpatient treatment, and it was based on the Women's Way Through the 12 Steps. By Stephanie Covington. That is like my Bible. I just really admire her for the work that she did. And it was the first time that recovery resonated for me. And the first time that just different words or terms that she put to stuff, it really started to make sense, and it wasn't from this rigid perspective.
What I know about recovery for me, and what the reason I've stayed active in Auraria Recovery Community, is first of all the stigma around
Yes.
what recovery looks like. So
Yes.
I am not anonymous about who I am,
Nope.
nor my recovery. And so I want people to know that this person that you're speaking with has been to jail 8 times.
Mm-hmm.
I had 3 DUIs. That was part of 8 of those arrests. I lost custody of my small children. My son was 10. My twins were like 7.5. I was homeless.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't see that. I didn't see that alcohol was the problem. I thought that the weight of my divorce, that's when my real trouble started, was the weight of my divorce, started me down the rabbit hole that took me several years to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize that it was really being fueled by alcohol and drug use.
Mm-hmm.
That all of my discomfort, all of my struggles with my ex-husband and my family, those were all troubles fueled by alcohol and drugs.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no idea. I thought that, it was my ex-husband. I thought it was my mother.
Of course.
I thought it was my employer. And so I luckily had a bit of a spiritual experience where I heard my higher power say, Lana, you're never going to drink again. I didn't recognize that voice. It took me a little bit of time to discern that voice was my higher power.
Mm-hmm.
But when I had a choice to continue on and come back to Colorado from Georgia or go back to Atlanta and just pretend like I hadn't started out on a journey to get back to my kids, I heard that voice say again, Lana, keep going. It's going to be okay.
Because you were traveling, you had the choice to either go, I remember this story, the fork in the road of where you could have kept going. And, we all face those really huge points of indecision where it literally is that momentary, what do I need to do?
Yes.
A lot of the decisions we make are little, but ones like that are so big. And before you even probably knew what trust your gut actually meant, it's like that power came through you.
Yeah.
And it's more than trusting your gut. It is trusting in something greater than yourself. And that is an approach that I think can really cross all paths of recovery.
Yes.
That I first learned that in AA,
Mm-hmm.
surrendering to a higher power, and they use terms that I can relate to.
Yes, me too.
But there was some structure in there, some Christian prayers and some other things that just made me flinch a little bit from my Catholic recovery.
Yeah. But there's recovery dharma.
Yes.
There's smart recovery.
So good.
There's
When I found
so
recovery
many.
dharma, which I teach yoga, and that, doing my 200-hour teacher training, that was almost like an awakening, a spiritual awakening you could have in recovery too.
Absolutely.
But for my own spirituality first. And the first time I heard about chakras and this energy system, I had never heard about it before.
Right.
And so
Right.
my mind just blew open. And another thing that I didn't really care for was the order of the steps and how chronological it is, and that enforcement of like, if the program's not working for you, you're not working it hard enough. And how, for me, like my inner rebel came out because at the end it says, if you do all of this, you're going to have a spiritual awakening. And I'm like, bitch, I already had mine. Why do you think I'm here?
Right. Right.
Do you feel like you can relate to that at all?
Absolutely.
With being awoken before and throughout?
Absolutely.
It's not this end journey, And I think with the steps, I was like waiting for it. Like I was waiting for this like poof moment.
Right.
That never really happened. And that poof moment was more of a slow burn for me, finding my own way to recovery, exploring other rooms. But I couldn't have done it without surrendering to the fact that I struggle with addiction.
Right. So that goes back to acceptance. So at what point do I accept who I really am, love myself despite whatever harm I have caused or think I have caused, and move beyond that to a place where I start healing? And
how do you do that? When people are so entrenched in their shame and they so overly identify with the fact that these things make them a bad person, like, what do you think that shift is? Do you think sometimes it's out of our control? Do you think sometimes they have that choice?
I think we all have a choice. Absolutely. It goes back to the hows, honest, open, and willing in the 12-step program.
Love.
And some of those sayings I hate, some of them I love. But
they just fit in your pocket perfectly, for certain
So
ways to explain things.
am I being honest with myself, first of all? And
Mm-hmm.
am I being honest with other people? And I never did that in addiction, in active addiction.
No.
There's no way. Am I open? Am I open to other ideas? Not one way works for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And they say don't skip steps, none of that, But yes, I had a spiritual awakening before I even ended up there. And I heard my higher power say, keep going, it's going to be okay. And
Mm-hmm.
whenever I get down or discouraged, I hear that voice. I have to evoke that voice. It's not that spiritual experience I had in the moment, but I evoke that voice. Keep going, Lana. It's going to be okay. I was in Alcoholics Anonymous for 8 years and always felt something was missing. Like, what's missing? Something
Same.
it doesn't feel right. What is it that I'm missing?
Like a circle into a square hole kind of a thing.
Mhm. And I was speaking about a family member again and again and again, and someone at the end of a AA meeting came up to me and said, Lana, I want you to look up the laundry list. I want you to decide how many of those things in the laundry list resonate for you, and I want you to call me tomorrow. Well, I pulled up the laundry list to find out it's part of ACA and dysfunctional families, which is adult children of alcoholics and dysfunctional families. And every single one of those items resonated for me.
Really?
And I said, holy shit, this is what's been missing. The part about childhood trauma.
Yes.
My inner critical parent, because that family member isn't here anymore.
No.
It's me.
Yeah.
It's my critical parent inside my head telling me things that aren't true, which is the same critical parent that was telling me that it was okay to drink. The same critical parent that said, you're not enough, but if you drink, if you use, you'll be part of something and you will be enough. And that was all a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So I have been practicing ACA and dysfunctional families for about 4 years now, 5 years, and I have a whole new community. So going back to communities, I never really felt like I fit in my family. I felt that there was something that I wasn't connecting, like there was something missing in my family. And when I drank or when I used, everybody else was drinking and using. And we were all, we were a jolly band of idiots.
Yep.
And I felt part of something. I understand why people join gangs. You join a gang because you get something out of it, something that you haven't gotten.
Belonging.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I started with ACA and dysfunctional families, I developed a new community of people who understood the same things I understand. It's almost like we have a language. Like there's a language in AA.
Yes.
There's a language at Auraria Recovery Community. Our language is inclusiveness, non-judgmental. Everyone is welcome here. Those are our languages. And while people do participate in other groups, like Cocaine Anonymous or Narcotics Anonymous, we don't judge one another. We welcome people who are sober curious. How is my consumption of alcohol impacting my ability to do my schoolwork or participate at work or whatever in my family, unit? We welcome people who are practicing moderation management, and that is not accepted in 12-step programming. Like if you're
you get another 24-hour coin if you come back after a return to use.
Exactly.
Relapse.
Exactly. And that doesn't really resonate for me either,
No.
that whole relapse thing. Reoccurrence of use happens. It's part of the recovery story. It's, are there going to be people around me that are not going to judge me, are going to welcome me back and not make me feel like I have to start all over again?
Yeah.
Like I already, I know people who have had a reoccurrence of use after 4 years of continuous sobriety, clean time, and they don't want to come back because they're afraid of being shamed.
The judgment, they don't feel safe. And it's like that is that inner child work. That is that chakra work.
Yeah.
Your primary base is safety. And if that's thrown off, like how are you going to start building?
Right.
And if you're going into a space that's supposed to hold you and you don't feel safe to go there because of being ostracized or called out, or that's what I love about ARC is it has the same mentality that I do in my recovery, in my life, in yoga too. I feel like yoga was another space. Obviously, it doesn't specifically talk about recovery, so you do need different rooms to support
Sure.
different,
Yes.
realms, but they all feed into each other.
Absolutely.
But yoga was that space where it was like, okay, we're literally putting our hands in prayer. I feel like I am praying, I'm setting intention, I'm using my body as an instrument to connect to God or source or my higher self.
Yes.
And it's these principles of love, of inclusion,
Yes.
of cleanliness, nonviolence. It's almost like the commandments, but it doesn't have this like, I don't know how to describe.
Rigidity.
Yes,
Yes.
it's rigidity. It's kind
Yes.
of this like dictator, like you
Yes.
have to follow it. And if you don't, it's just more open ended. It's more warm. It's more welcoming. It feels more approachable. And so
Yes.
that's what I love about ARC is I was just like, oh, there is another way that you can do recovery.
Yes.
And I knew in my body that the rooms I was in weren't fully supporting me, but I didn't know what else was out there until I
Right.
found it.
Right. We've had participants whose drug of choice has been heroin,
Mm-hmm.
and it's completely wrecked their lives.
Yeah.
They were in and out of treatment many times, failed in school, all those consequences that pile up on us as we're in active addiction
Mhm.
and just aren't finding our community or the support that we need. And if you're not using in a destructive and self-harmful way, but perhaps you're using cannabis for sleep, we don't even ask those questions.
Right.
We don't care.
Yeah.
We don't care. It's
If you want to tell us about it and that makes you feel more supported,
Yeah.
go for it. But
Yeah.
like, we're not going to drill you
No.
on.
No, we don't care. We don't even care why you end up there. If you think you belong there, then you do.
Mhm.
We don't ask those kind of questions. We don't count days. You don't pick up chips. We don't do steps. We don't read out of a book. What we are is a group of students or anyone touched by recovery that comes together twice a week to have all recovery meetings, and we talk about whatever the facilitator for that day, the leader of the meeting that day, wants to talk about.
Mhm.
Sometimes we've talked about protests and how that's
Right.
impacted their recovery and how it's impacted their school. But we've had tons of success stories. I think that the mindset of most of us is there are about 1,000 12-step meetings. We could throw a rock and hit a dozen of them
For
right
sure.
from here. But
Literally.
there aren't many all recovery meetings where we don't put stipulations on what your recovery looks like.
That's what's hard is like, we want to invite people into this, more supportive, open-ended space. But how can people find it if, it's not as accessible as AA? Where would you recommend people start if they're not local to Denver or the MSU community?
Well, we have a website,
Mm-hmm.
aurariarecoverycommunity.com. We are under the administrative umbrella of the Health Center at Auraria, and I have to give a shout out to them because they've been incredible in supporting us. Richard Michio is our greatest advocate. Will Simpkins at MSU Denver is very supportive of our efforts. So you can start there. If you ever can't find us by just Googling Auraria Recovery Community, go to the Health Center in the Plaza Building, Suite 150. They will connect you immediately with one of us. We have a new dedicated space, which is a big deal,
Yay!
in the Tivoli Student Union Building. We're right across from Rowdy's Corner in Tivoli 241. We're so excited about that. We've been pounding on the podium for years.
Yes, you have.
About needing a permanent dedicated space. For years, we hauled our snacks and our drinks and our literature and our books and everything around with us from space to space to have meetings. And now that we have a dedicated space, I see our meeting structures expand, offering an LGBTQ meeting, offering
Amazing.
just all kinds of other different meetings that are specific to demographics that have important needs
Yes.
that should be addressed in their own special meetings. So we're excited about that. I just believe that there should be a collegiate recovery community on every college campus in the U.S.
100%.
Yeah. Auraria Recovery Community is a member of the Association of Recovery in Higher Education, ARHE. and they are having a conference in June this year, end of June, and ARC will be there. We're very excited about them coming to Denver this year, and there are over 4,000 colleges and universities across this country, and we are one of like 180 collegiate recovery programs or communities on college campuses. So the growth can be exponential, but we have to do it together.
Yeah.
That's part
You
of
have
it
to
too.
get the word out there.
Like
You
the
have
we,
to,
the
yeah.
we of recovery, and the fact that as I grow as a person, as I discover who I am without the drugs and alcohol, I get to decide what I really love, not what other people put on me to love. Like, I don't really love the corporate world, but I
Right.
was in the corporate world for 20 years in real estate and property management. I don't really love the corporate world. I love these organic kind of organizations that have started out of people's heart, their heart projects, their passion projects. We partner with some of those people in the recovery community, like Sober AF Entertainment and Duke Rumley, like Safe Project. We partner with the Phoenix, the Sober Gym over
Yep.
on Champa, and Advocates for Recovery Colorado, and Vanessa is incredible. And we love partnering with those people and bringing them to campus.
Yeah.
Because as we share the information, the public service announcements about what recovery looks like, who people are in recovery, then we can change people's mindsets. There's stigma and there's stereotypes that we can change, because I am what recovery looks like.
Right. Yeah, me
And
too.
You are what recovery looks
Me
like.
too.
Yeah, and gosh, I have some really pretty ugly mugshots. They're bad.
What do you think it did for you? Like, obviously, at one point, you were probably so ashamed of that you never wanted the world to find that. It's not like you're like, look at my headshot from day one.
Yeah.
So what do you think that shift was for you? How did you get there to really own your shame? And what do you think that did for you?
Joining a community initially. So when I came back from Atlanta, I was driving back here in a blackout. That's when I heard my higher power say, Lana, you're never going to drink again, and keep going. It's going to be all right. The first thing I did, because I had been remanded by court to go to AA meetings and get my paper signed, and really all I really wanted was my driver's license back. I didn't want anything else.
You didn't care about recovery?
No,
Yeah.
I didn't care about recovery. I didn't think I had a problem, honestly. I thought it was everybody else.
For sure.
And I thought everybody drank like I drank. I really did. I knew that I needed to insert myself immediately in AA. I really did. And back then, it wasn't as easy to Google and look it up online.
No.
So I just honestly accidentally found a woman's group at the Church of the Risen Christ on Monaco. And that's still my home group 15 years later. And, now I'm 15 years older too. And so I say the little gray hairs, well, I'm one of the little gray hairs. Like, I'll have 15 years of continuous sobriety, clean time in November. I've been going to that same home group of little gray hairs, and now I'm one of those little gray hairs.
That's so cute.
And I'll be 65 this year.
Congratulations.
So
what a blessing to be alive, to be aging so beautifully internally. It really is a blessing.
And I never thought I was worthy of that blessing.
Until
I let those ladies love me until I could love myself.
All it takes is truly one community,
Yes.
one space where you finally feel held and
Yes.
like you belong. And that's really what I'm hoping to do with this space is like, if people don't have the courage to access it in person, it takes a lot. Think about the level of rock
does.
bottoms that you had to go to
Oh my
in order
God.
to step into those rooms. And I had never heard a podcast or anybody virtually talking about it. So if I can be a bridge to let people know what these spaces are like or what you
Yes.
could potentially find, and even just helping people feel more seen. Of course, this is an in-person connection. It's not the same, but
Right.
just validating people's struggles is
Yes.
so key in the recovery process.
As technology has advanced, as my ability to access the technology
Yeah.
has advanced. YouTube has been incredibly helpful to me.
Yeah.
And listening to positive podcasts and watching positive YouTube videos. Yeah, I can doom scroll all day long, but do I really want that to fill up my heart, my soul, and impact how I view the world? So I look for things like Gabor Mate's YouTube.
Tell us about what you did this weekend.
Well, we were so fortunate to have the health center at Auraria pay for 12 students to
So
attend the
jealous.
Gabor Mate lecture at Belco Theater. It was amazing. And I think that what really resonated for me, because I was born in the 60s, I grew up in the 60s and 70s, there's still, even today, a lot of disconnect, the mind and body disconnect.
For sure.
But what he talked about was that it's all connected, and that what I believe, that all the outside issues impact how we see the world, how we navigate in the world, how we deal with the stress of the world, and are we taking care of ourselves? Are we loving ourselves? I can't share something with you that I don't have, and I love myself.
Yes,
really
you do.
I do. I mean, I have tough days. It's not all rainbows and butterflies, but I don't have to use. I don't have to drink. And I know where to go and ask for help. That's the beautiful thing about communities.
Absolutely.
That's the difference. I couldn't go to my family and ask for help. I was too ashamed.
Yeah. And they probably couldn't help you in the way that you had needed.
No. But people, my peers, students, folks in 12-step programs or other programs that I participate in, they have similar lived experiences. They understand me.
Yeah, they're going to make you feel seen and be able to explain their experience, because really where that connection point is like, oh, here's my shit. Let me hear about yours, and we can connect on that. Oh my God, thank God I don't feel alone.
Yeah.
Thank God I don't feel like the only broken one going through this, or like I'm so bad, I'm the worst. People who haven't been able to surrender to the fact that they're struggling with addiction or whatever type of life recovery they're going through, they can't validate and connect on that level that you need. And I think that's where I finally felt safe in my recovery, was when I realized that what you were saying, now I have a support system to go to. And of course I am scared to return to use, especially with my drug of choice. Like, that terrifies me. I think that healthy fear has kept me sober. But I also know that if that ever happened, I wouldn't be starting over. I wouldn't be starting the time clock over from 5 years. Like, I already have a village of people that I have sought out that have found me. And the first group besides AA that found me was because I started sharing my story online. And whether you feel like blasting it out to the internet or not, being able to tell somebody what you're going through, a friend, a peer, a professor you have, like, somebody is going to start giving you those stepping stones of where you need to go. And it's not like I sought this out. You know, I decided to go back to school for myself, and then I found, there's a recovery community here. Of course there is, of course it found me.
Right.
So you have to, like you said, make that choice and have the courage to be honest with yourself and be honest with even one other person. And hopefully that starts to unravel your path ahead, because I think when you're on the other side of it and you're still deep in your struggles, it's just like, where do I go? Like, it feels like there's no resources. But then you open yourself to that world of recovery and you realize there's so much.
There's so much.
And it feels like nobody's talking about it, but there's so many people talking about it.
Absolutely.
It's just still not in mainstream media as much.
Exactly. And there's shame about, do we really want to tell people that there's a recovery community on our campus? Will that cause people to think lesser of us?
Right.
Who cares?
Like, what?
Yeah. Who cares? And so I'm going to go back to Gabor Mate. One of the things that really resonates for me with what he talks about is, why are we asking people why the behavior? Why aren't we asking people what happened to you? And so that's the compassion and inquiry. And I tell folks all the time, your community's not going to come to you. You've got to go to your community. You've got to
Yes.
be willing to put yourself out there, take a risk, do something different because what you're doing ain't working, and try. Just
Mhm.
try. And it might not come out positive every single time. You might run into things that don't resonate for you. You
Mhm.
might decide that meeting's not for you or that community's not for you. But there's thousands of things going on
You have to keep
in
going.
Denver. When I talk about Denver to other people, I say Denver is on fire for recovery.
Yes.
If you say you're bored or lonely in recovery, I'm going to call you out on your bullshit because that ain't the case. There's so many things to do in this town, recovery related. I am really proud to be part of that community because I'll tell you, this always makes me cry. People in recovery are the greatest people I've ever met. They are the greatest, absolutely the kindest, most loving people I've ever met. And so, not just a community, but I found a family.
Mhm.
I found a family I never had. And for me, that's what's so special about Auraria Recovery Community, because I have a family
Mm.
and I picked it.
Mhm.
And I've nurtured it, and they've nurtured me. I'm going to cry.
I love when you cry. For people who are afraid to accept that they need recovery as a part of their lives, or who are afraid to step into the rooms for the first time, what would you tell them?
I would say find a friend that'll go with you to a meeting, because there's many open meetings all over. Find someone that you trust and just have them go with you if you don't want to go alone. There's many online meetings from all
So
of
many.
the modalities that you can participate in online with very little risk, and start there. I didn't mention Young People in Recovery, but that's a really good one where they have a lot of online meetings. No judgment, free recovery out on Evans, which is a recovery community. They say they're a place for religious refugees. Their motto is, we don't do shame here. Find the places where you know that they're going to be non-judgmental and accepting, because they're out there.
Yeah.
And find, like you said, yoga is a very wonderful way to connect your mind and body and start tapping into what's going on. Like, what's going on in my mind and body? But I also don't want to minimize the use of professionals. As
Yeah.
a student
It's
on
needed.
campus, there are counseling centers at every one of our schools: CCD, MSU Denver, CU Denver. Reach out to a counseling center.
Literally free.
Free.
I've had free therapy while I'm in school.
Actually, we pay for it.
I mean, I'm
as
paying.
Students. Yeah, we pay for it as
Parents
students.
are paying for my therapy. Might as well use the resources.
That's
If
right.
you're here, like,
That's
that has
right.
been one of my motivating factors.
Yes.
Is like, aside from my recovery, I mean, it's for my life recovery. Like, get involved.
Yes.
Put yourself out there.
Yes.
Show up. Of
Yes.
course, we all need to go inward and nurture ourselves and be cozy in our homes at times. You know, we need that part of our recovery too. But it really is putting yourself out there and getting yourself a little uncomfortable to find the support and the resources that you need. And it's more than just showing up and leaving. It's like getting yourself to talk to people, to
Absolutely.
share, to have people learn more about you, and just
Absolutely.
you never know where that's going to lead you.
Connect.
Yeah.
Personal connection.
Absolutely. It's like I could have shown up to that recovery meeting, sat down, not shared, not connected with you,
Right.
not said hi, and just kind of been in my little shadow. But that's not how I roll, obviously. So talking to you has led us to this point now. And it's like all
Yes.
of those are little threads that are going to weave
Yes.
you to where you need to go.
Absolutely. And then I want to mention, too, that if your counseling center's appointments are backed up and you're not going to be able to get in for a week, 2 weeks, and you're in a bit of a crisis situation,
Yeah.
you can always go to the health center at Auraria, Plaza Building, Suite 150. They have therapists, counselors, psychiatrists, and you can almost be assured you'll get same day or next day connections with a professional. And I believe, for me, the combination of peer-to-peer recovery and professional work with a therapist has been instrumental.
For sure.
And
The group approach
yes,
and the
yes,
individual.
yes,
Mhm.
yes. And then I also focus on my nutrition, and
Yeah.
I focus on other areas that I'm interested in, like philanthropy. I'm part of the Auraria Rotaract Club because I
Mhm.
believe that service is the way we give back, and I can give back not just to my recovery community, but to my community at large.
Mhm. Recovery is so connected with your internal health, and going back to Gabor Mate and other spiritual leaders that you listen to. It's like we were just talking about this before we hit record, and it was such a good conversation about how everything is so interconnected.
Absolutely.
And she shared that she's going to be 65, and I was like, "You're literally glowing." And she's like, "I'm aging backwards, and it's because of the lack of consumption of alcohol amongst,
Yeah.
finding yourself
Yes.
and feeling supported. Like that glow will never come from a peptide, from a supplement. Of course, you need
never.
to take care of your health and supplement as you
Absolutely.
need, but that glow is so internal. And, all of the focus on your nutrition, your stress levels, how you're moving your body is supplemental, but
Yes.
you can't do your recovery without it. It's
Yes.
so essential to help your mind operate on the level that it needs to be.
Absolutely.
Going outside, the simplest things that can help us, our sleep. It's
Yes.
all so interconnected.
Absolutely.
And I love that you're on that page, because that's so my wave. I studied at the Institute of Integrative Nutrition
Oh, yeah.
and got my health coaching certification.
Wow.
So that's totally my beat. Like, I love
Yeah.
that. And I think Dr. Gabor Mate was one of the instructors on it too.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, so
That's awesome.
we
Well,
very
and
much are both on that vibe.
going back to shame, part of what I've found in recovery is that I'm not ashamed to ask for what I need. I'm not ashamed to honor myself, and I'm not ashamed to take care of myself. I deserve that. But when I was in the vicious cycle of addiction, and I knew I was doing harm, not just to myself, but to other people, the people I loved, I didn't feel like I deserved anything. I didn't feel like I deserved to ask for what I need. Yeah. And so I was hopeless. I felt worthless. I felt ashamed. I felt like I didn't deserve anything. And as that cycle got worse and worse and the consequences got worse and worse, I really started just thinking like, oh, this is what I deserve. And
what built that up for you? How do you feel like you started recognizing your internal worth and knowing what you deserve?
Well, first of all, you have to stop using.
Yeah.
And you have to stop drinking.
Yeah.
Because it alters the way that I think about the world and myself. So that's the first step. I really had to stop. And for me, that means complete abstinence. That's the practice that I follow, complete abstinence. Because for me, basically, everything is a gateway.
Absolutely. I relate. Even caffeine. I'm like,
yeah.
God.
Oh, gosh, I can't give up caffeine.
No. Half decaf.
Yeah, exactly. So I had to start with the simple abstinence.
Right.
You
got to get some time under your belt.
Yes.
Yeah, same.
And then I had to start hearing, like being open to what people were saying. Like, you have to love yourself. You have to accept yourself. That's the whole thing about recovery. The first thing I had to do was accept who I really am. And I equate it to people who have peanut allergies or shellfish allergies, I have an alcohol allergy. I can't drink, and I can't do anything else. I'm going to give you a really good example. I was using melatonin for sleeping a year or so ago, and my daughter was home from school, and I'm standing at the kitchen sink shaking out like 6 melatonin, and she walks in the kitchen and she goes, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm taking my melatonin." She's like, "No, you're not. That's not how many you're supposed to take." I really have a kind of a all or nothing kind of mentality.
For sure.
Like, more is better, not less is better, more is better. And I have to really watch myself.
Yeah.
And that goes back to the honesty.
Yes.
Like, I have to be honest with myself about who I am. And as I'm honest with myself about who I am, then I can accept myself for who I am. Because we all have a thing. Like we all
Absolutely.
do something that's not healthy for us.
That we're a little embarrassed by, that we may not,
Exactly.
it may not be brought up in the conversation.
Exactly.
Mhm.
It could be, you're called a workaholic for a reason
Right.
because that's all you do is work. And you're ignoring.
With that one, you can brag about it.
And we're in a society that brings up an interesting topic. We're part of programming at the health center that's addressing the grind, and it's called the time to ungrind. Like,
Yeah.
how much is the grind impacting who you are as a person?
Mhm.
How it affects your sleep?
The pressure.
The pressure. Are you using substances
To keep going, to turn off.
grind?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pop an Adderall when you wake up, smoke
Yep.
some weed to pull you back down. It's like,
Yep. What the norms are. The norms really are that fewer and fewer college students are using substances. First of all, college is expensive.
yeah.
And so
Yeah,
why would
we
you?
can't afford.
Yeah, we can't afford to be messing this up too much. But I think that we think everybody else is smoking weed, and they're not.
No.
We think everybody else is. Just like I thought everybody drank like
right.
I drank.
Like I'm going to be the
They-
only person that
Yeah.
doesn't. I'm going to feel excluded.
Yeah.
I'm going to feel, different.
So those norms, that's the programming for Time to Ungrind, is to kind of break down the norms and really share the positive parts of who college students are and how they navigate school and life, and that there are places to build community
Outside of a drink.
Yes,
Yeah.
heal, be part of, get professional help. I think it's hard to ask for that help, especially if we've had parents kind of navigating all of that for us for so long. We don't even know where to start. I have to tell you, the folks that I work with over at the health center at Auraria are the kindest, nicest people I've ever worked with. It's the best job I have ever had. And I'm only a student employee. Like, those folks over there have worked at the health center for decades. And if you walked in there tomorrow and said, I need help and I don't even know what I need help for, they would find somebody to help you.
Yeah. You've given so many different ways that people can be supported, and I think that that is so important. I'm really grateful that you've been able to speak so well on that, because people need to know that there are so many different avenues.
There
and
are.
I don't even need to clarify a question of like, what does support and recovery look like for you? It's like, I'm living it. Every space I'm in is a way to support my
Yes.
recovery, and I love that.
Yes.
To someone who is struggling, what would you say to them? Maybe they're afraid to admit that they are struggling. Maybe they are afraid of the parts of themselves that they're going to lose in recovery. I know that keeps a lot of people out of the rooms.
Yep.
What would you say to them? Any advice or a personal share?
I would say look very deeply and be extremely honest with yourself. Decide, is what I'm doing working? Do I feel fulfilled? Do I feel like I'm participating in the stream of my own life? Do I feel like I'm contributing something to my family, to my work, to my classmates? If you answer no to any of those things, you might seriously want to find a trusted classmate, family member, and just tell them. Just start by telling somebody. Go to a counselor and tell a counselor so you can practice.
Right.
In a place where you know there won't be judgment. Just start somewhere. Grab a journal, grab a spiral notebook, and start free writing whatever comes to your mind about what you're doing, how you're doing it, how you feel about what you're doing. Put it aside for a few days. Don't even think about it. Come back with a clear mind and read it. You'll probably see a lot of reveals. Painting can be very helpful to people.
So many different
Art,
outlets.
dancing is a great outlet. But I think at the end of the day, you know deep down.
Yeah. If you're asking yourself if you have a problem and you're trying to decide whether you do or you don't, First of all, that's not even the question. That's, analyzing the symptoms on top, and it's through a lens of judgment. It's the questions that you're saying. Do I feel fulfilled?
Yeah.
What am I hiding?
Yes.
How connected and supported do I feel?
Yes.
And what is blocking me from that?
Yes, exactly.
When I was using, it's like I was timing out my day in hour increments of when can I go back by myself to get high again.
Yeah. Exactly.
My whole life revolved around it.
Yep.
It dictated what spaces I wanted to be in versus not. I didn't want to go to my parents' house because I didn't want them to see me high. It's like it low key pulls you from these connections, and you really do have to take a long, hard look at yourself. And I just wrote a note in my phone about that gap between knowing versus doing. And I'm sure you had quite a long gap of, that first whisper of, maybe this is not the best for me. The hope is with all of this is that you hopefully won't have to hit your rock bottom to figure out that you want recovery. And I think that's our hope in sharing, is that you can recognize some of this within yourself and realize that it is not shameful to reach out.
No, not at all.
You don't have to hit rock bottom.
No, you don't have to go to jail 8 times. You don't have to lose custody of your kids. You don't have to drop out of school. Those are all the things I did when I was in active addiction. You don't have to do those things. It's really just as simple as saying, hey, I'm struggling. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. Help me. And that takes a lot of courage. It really does.
Absolutely. A level of humility, and
yes,
it really is like an internal rock bottom. It is total surrender. And when I think about surrender, I think about me just like letting it go. It's not this like fall or this complete giving up. It's like this opening of, I don't feel like I have another option, or like whatever I'm doing is not working to the point that I have to do this. I have to be honest with myself. I have to share what's on my heart because I don't know what else to do.
Right. Well, and you were asking about people, like, what would you say to someone who really is struggling?
Yeah.
Also, ask yourself, what am I lying about? What am I hiding? What am I lying about? Where am I being dishonest, disingenuous? Where am I disconnecting from people? And really, how is that working for you? How am I contributing to the stream of my own life? Am I making it harder for myself? Am I causing these consequences that are really so impactful, it feels like it's hopeless? I thought the same way. I thought that how am I ever, when I first went into AA and they said, get a sponsor, read this book, do these steps.
Terrifying.
I thought, there is no way in hell any of this is going to help me.
Right.
But what I did do is I kept going back. I kept going back. I kept going back. That's what they say. Keep coming back.
Yep.
So keep going back to the space where you feel even just a little okay. Like, okay, I can tolerate this one more day. I can tolerate these people one more day. Because what you really are doing is you're building those connections that you haven't had before. You're breaking down those walls that you've built. You're breaking those down so you can have some true connection with people.
And I'm thinking about, aside from substance use, there is communities for people who have struggled in abusive relationships, who struggled with sexual abuse, who have struggled with anxious versus avoidant attachment style. Like,
exactly.
I'm thinking about all of my friends and other audiences and people listening to this, and this advice crosses all areas of life.
Absolutely. There is a place for all of us. And there is a seat at every table, no matter what the space is. There's a place for you, but it's not going to come to you.
No,
you've got to take the chance. You've got to put yourself out there, even
a
if
willingness,
it's just a tiny bit.
Yeah,
try.
I always think about the dynamic or the difference between willpower versus willingness.
Yes.
And when I felt like I had to have willpower to give up my addictions, to control it, to throw it away, and not be able to be able to not use or pick up for a couple days, or prove to myself I wasn't an addict by not smoking during the days or during the weekends or whatever insanity I chose. That was all willpower fueled, and I don't have any of that. It is not from me.
Exactly.
My higher power, my higher self, that internal part of me guiding me forward, that inner divinity is what's helping me. But I do have a willingness to want to better myself,
Yes.
to want to feel heard and safe and seen and my healthiest self. And of course, it doesn't look perfect. I still struggle so much. But I think the willingness feels more empowering
Yes.
than feeling like you have to muster up something inside of you that a lot of us in recovery don't have. And if you did quit on your own, good for you.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
But you might be struggling with that sort of dry drunk. I don't know if there's a better word to describe it, but you might be free from use, but the inner work is not happening.
I think that's connected to isolation.
For
and,
sure.
And being isolated and self-isolation.
I really agree.
Self-imposed isolation. And as human beings, we're not built that way.
No.
We're built to work in community, work in a village. Like, yeah, it does take a village to raise a child. We've gotten so disconnected from the idea, first of all, the mind-body connection.
Yes.
But the connection between me and you and them and those and me. We're all connected. All of it is connected. And so I think that if you are able to do it on your own, more power to you.
Yeah.
But I want to ask again, how fulfilled do you feel? How joyful do you feel? Even on my worst days, I can find some joy in life, in the world. And when I don't feel that joyful and I feel, I've said it out loud before, damn, right now I could use a drink. Now, do I act on that? No, I don't. But when I'm in my community and I say something like that, I don't get shocked looks.
Yeah.
I don't have people going, oh, God, we need to get her back in treatment.
And it sets you free.
Yeah.
You're freeing that urge.
Yeah.
If you kept that down,
Yeah.
that could start to snowball.
Yeah.
You're clearing it out
Yeah.
so much
Yes.
faster, whether that's your emotions
Yes.
you're clearing, stress, all of that that's a fear-based thought, and then that can fester and grow in your body.
Yeah.
So being able to express openly
Exactly.
what's on your mind and those urges and those impulses is super important too.
One of my greatest mentors, shout out to Amy, she says, I'm an addict. I'm not responsible for my first thought,
Yeah.
but I am responsible for my first action
Yep.
and my next thought.
Which is exactly what yoga teaches you to a T, to learn how to be mindful of your thoughts
Yeah.
and know that you're not in charge of your automatic mind.
No.
I love that so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
And what you said about isolation, it made me think of the opposite of addiction is connection.
Yes.
I love that saying.
Well, Gabor spoke of that on
Did he?
Saturday night.
That's
He sure
probably where I
did.
learned it.
Yes, that the rat park, that experiment where they had, an endless source of cocaine water for rats, and I don't have the connections all right, but they had them in stressful environments where there were too many rats in their confinement. Then they had another area where there were, little wheels and there were fewer of them and they could access anything they wanted, food and activities. And it was pretty, it was a pretty rat park. And they could still access that cocaine water and they didn't.
Wow.
So that's called the Rat Park Experiment.
That's
it's a
really
YouTube
cool.
video. And yes, the point is the opposite of addiction is connection, and connection is community.
Mm-hmm.
Wherever you find that. It could be a sewing circle.
Yeah.
Where you show up every week for even when you don't feel so good and even if you don't want to go.
Mm-hmm.
You go to your sewing circle.
The conversations pick you up.
Yes.
You never know how just getting yourself outside of your own
Yes.
internal world is going to help.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you have any last words? Any closing statements that you want to share?
Step outside of your fear. I mean, fear is fuck everything and run. Or
I like to say false evidence appearing real
Yeah,
is
that's
another
right.
good one.
or
face everything and recover. And we recover
Wow.
from everything. We recover from workaholics. We recover from gambling and all those other things we've talked about. It doesn't have to be substances. But there is a community on our campus that will welcome you with open arms. And if you're just curious about how is my relationship with substances impacting the rest of my life, you have a safe space to explore that at Auraria Recovery Community with our community, with our meetings, and with our activities. And that's what I would say here for students on the Auraria campus. Out in the big, beautiful world, find your people, find your community, find your village. You'll feel so much more fulfilled and whole. And you'll find health and recovering and healing there. It's in community. Find your family.
I love that. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome.
It was
Thank
such
you
a
for
joy to
asking
have
me.
you.
Thank you. Thanks for asking me.
Yay!